Over. We are live here in House Transportation on Tuesday, April 21st. And we have, it's Renee Coda from Department of Motor Vehicles. I'm going to talk for a few seconds beforehand so that the committee understands why I believe you're here to talk about motor coach homes and motor coaches that are sold in Vermont and purchase and use tax and how it relates. And the reason that it's on the agenda is I wasn't aware until recently, but motor coach homes, they sell anywhere in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and there's a certain amount that are sold in Vermont, but very few to any are registered in Vermont. Most of them are registered in many other places, one of which of those states is Montana, where they sort of specialize in registering vehicles that are of high value luxury items with some very low company corporation processing fees, and they have very low registration and no purchase and use tax on them. They do have a luxury tax that is a cap of $825 on the value of a motor coach over $300,000. But what I've found out is that you buy a motor coach home in Vermont, you're not going to pay the purchase and use. You're going to go out and form a company in Montana. You're going to pay their annual registration fee of $35 initially set up and $20 a year. You can also have they have a one-time exemption where you can pay this one-time registration fee, whereas we have a 6% purchase and use tax. So once you're over $45,000, well, I'm sorry, we'll get into other piece of it, but once you're in a, buy a motor coach for 300 grand, 6% of that is a pretty substantial $18,000. You can go to Montana and pay the $825 luxury registration fee and the $35 fee to form the company, and you've got $1,000 invested to save on your $18,000. So what I'm getting at is that a max tax or a cap on a vehicle like this would be potentially, I'm not saying I'm certain, but potentially the cases where you were to put a cap on taxes, like we have on large trucks, which is at $2,486, which only gets you to a $45,000 truck to hit that cap, 41, 42,000, somewhere in that ballpark, to hit that cap of $2,486 you have on heavy trucks. We have no cap on motor coaches. It's also come to my attention that one of the largest dealers in the country is going to be potentially opening up a shop. It does happen to be in Franklin County, but one of these large Camper World, that has 200 locations in the country. There's an old RV place that is closed up 5 years now in our area. I don't have any contact with them. I don't know anything about them. I just know that that's the rumor that they're coming. And I look into this and I find some people that have bought motorhome coaches, and I find out that they got all kinds of license plates, but not here. So even if they sell the 14 or 15 a year, and some of these are 400,000, 500,000, et cetera, my suggestion, I guess, in the long-winded way is if we were getting $2,500 or $3,000 out of each one instead of zero, we'd be ahead of where we are, or maybe not. But the idea that it's easier to go through this rigmarole to do it elsewhere, I wanted to highlight the issue, get the committee's feedback and comments, and hear some of the data on this. And if it's an expanding business in Vermont, I didn't know anything about what has a max tax and what doesn't. I think it's something the committee should know more about.
So what you're saying is if I buy a heavy duty truck, I guess it can't be a passenger truck.
We're going to find out some of those.
Heavy duty truck, and it costs around $40,000. My purchase and use tax gets cut at that level roughly. And if I was to buy a travel trailer for more than that, my purchase and use tax just keeps going up, doesn't matter.
I think there are classes of vehicles that have max tax in Vermont and classes of vehicles that do not. And I don't know all the details, but yes, is what I can't say that what you said exactly is the case, but I'm saying in many scenarios, what I'm understanding is there's different classes and caps for different vehicles. And what I find is the idea would be, we think we're going to get $36,000 on a $600,000 motor coach. We're not. We're getting nothing because they're not registering here. But yes,
for that.
So we might be getting more money if we lowered the price than if we kept the price.
Or had a cap.
Or had a cap potentially. But I also think there's a conversation going in the direction of what Representative Couch is saying, is that I'm not sure we're all fully aware of what vehicles have caps and what don't. So this is what
And we
I'm,
want to make it equitable for.
I am hoping that the DMV is gonna be able to tell us that these have been reviewed and some rationale behind them and how often they get reviewed. And I'm trying to open up a bit of a can of worms that I have no idea how far I'm going or where it's at. But I wasn't aware of all of these pieces. And I'm not saying I have a particular piece of a bill or an amendment yet, but I think there's some info here that we are not aware of. Got everybody's attention though. And so that's the big preamble of as many of those areas that you can comment on and bring us up to speed on, and particularly the motor coach thing. I made a commitment that I would look into that this year, and that's why we're here today.
Renee Coda, Director of Finance, DMV. So I have a short presentation on the motor coaches, but I can answer additional questions on the max tax.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us again, a repeat visitor.
So let's see how I can do this. I struggle with this part.
Don't worry, I struggle with all of it. Except if you're riding an aerial tramway. Starting to get into it.
Yes, it's like it hides on me.
Do
Representative.
we have this presentation?
It is on my page.
Where would I find it?
It's right on the documents in here that said.
That's right.
Okay.
Is
Yep. I just had it.
For Tuesday.
Yeah,
Further.
go a little bit further down. It's under Damien's too. Maybe refresh.
Yeah, I just refreshed.
Yeah.
Or it's up there on the screen, Phil.
I'll look at it on the screen.
No, just hit Command R and it'll refresh.
I don't know why I did that. One moment. There. I won't touch it. All right, so I ran or had the team run numbers for in fiscal year 25. What did we have for purchases, new or used for motorhomes in Vermont? And I broke those out into different categories. So we had a total of 394 that registered, that were paid purchase and use tax. And so we brought in $1 million with an average tax paid of $2,727. So if that had been if they had been applied to max tax, we would have had, we would have only brought in $598,000. So I'll back up to the first two. The first two is that of that 394 motorhomes, there was 163 that were greater than the 2486, which is our max tax amount, for a total purchase and use of 881,000 with an average price PNU of $5,400 that they paid. And so of that 394, 231 had which made up $193,000 of that 1 million. So with an average of 837, likely those were, used motorhomes. And so I did an additional deep dive of the 394. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just a little confused. So motorhomes don't have this now.
They don't have a max, but I
You're showing what it would look like
yes.
from the ones that do register here.
Right.
Got it.
So for the ones that registered in fiscal year 25, if just based on the information we have, if we did the max tax, our revenue would have been less by $500,000. That doesn't mean that additional people that registered in other states wouldn't have come. It just means that we would have reduced who did register by $500,000, which means we'd have to make that up by, right? And would we make that up or not?
And when you say register, these are new registrations because they're paying the purchase and use tax.
So on the next slide, I'll go back to this one, but on this slide, I looked at Montana's registration fees, and I found some different numbers than you did.
Okay.
So less than 2 years, they charge $291, where we charge $91. For 2 to 4 years, they charge $231. So they have and then 5 to 7 years, this is at the age of the motorhome.
So they don't look at the value, the Blue Book value. They just go, how old is your motorhome? It's 4 years old. That's your registration. Got it.
And when they get to 11 years, you can then pay $245 and you don't have to do it again.
Just once.
Hmm.
And then
So
if
they
there's
only
a-
charge you for 11 years.
and after that, you can register for nothing.
So the value of that is $1,900 for a motorhome, not one that has the $800 that you were talking about for the over the 300,000.
300,000 luxury tax of 800.
So this doesn't take that into consideration. So the Vermont registration fees that would apply over that period of time would be $1,000. So just comparing apples to apples registrations versus registrations, the difference is for that, there's $938 more for Montana that we could then compare to our max tax. So that would reduce
Sorry. So 900 more, but
over
you're
11
not
years.
paying any purchase and use tax. And you are in Vermont.
Yes.
Okay.
So if we reduced, I'm just giving you all the numbers,
Yeah.
reduce the 2486 by the 938 to make it interesting for people to bring their registrations back here, we would have to reduce the max tax, but to 1548.
In that case,
How can you use Montana for a comparison?
Montana has a special deal for people.
Sweet deal.
A sweet deal for people too. And what they have to do is they have to pay someone to create an LLC. And so we're looking into options of if it's possible to even find out how many and which LLCs have Vermont residents. The LLC has likely, I've had a very short amount of time to deep dive, likely doesn't have the Vermont resident's name on it because they use a company. It's because they have to have a Montana residence.
So wait a minute.
to hire a registered agent to go out and form your LLC and then to also annually file your annual update to your LLC. So there's a fee involved in that. And but it's not these fees that people are looking to necessarily save. It's the amount of the tax, the 6%, which is the big. And I would also say that I don't know why our Vermont max tax is 2,486 and how many years it's been that way and whether inflation should be looking at these things. And these are part of where we're sort of headed in the conversation. I think I can see on the committee that the awareness of it is not as high as, at least in my perspective, the awareness was nowhere for me. Can't speak for everybody, but.
So back to the other slide where it says the 190. So the 190 of the 394, their tax was either $1,548 or less.
So the 190 of the 394 transactions, so half of them, or what, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Half of them were of a value, were pretty low.
Yes.
For 6%, 1548 were, so, and half were the much higher fee that would have potentially hit the max tax, that they chose to go ahead and pay the full 6%. Meaning that, you have no choice, you're gonna register, you have to pay it, or do it some other way, this other Montana way.
Right. So of the almost 400 people, 41% paid more than the max tax. to register their new or used motorhomes in Vermont.
And they pay 400 on average, 400.
Some much more than that.
I would bet some much more than that. Is it illegal by Vermont statute? And maybe I have to ask Amy this question, but is there a law against doing this? In some ways is to register your vehicle out of state, knowingly registering it out of state, somehow a violation of Vermont law?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Representative Pease?
I got an equipment trailer at home. And it hauls my equipment around, my excavator and stuff, and I register it in Maine. And I had to use an outside outfit, but the first year, whenever you buy something here, you gotta register it here, but then afterwards, you can register. I don't know if you can do that with campers or motorhomes, I'm not sure. But you'll see a lot of like big trucking outfits, so you see their trailers or that main plates on them.
Yeah.
And so it's a semi-permanent resident thing. I don't know what it is, but I had to go through a third party. But I think I paid $110 for 5 years, and I don't have to inspect it. So there's
Mhm.
I didn't beat the tax here, but I did, I don't have to go inspect it every year, so.
And you don't have to register for 5 years.
Right. 5 years down the road, they send me a piece of paper and start over again. I don't know if you can do it with campers. I'll find out this year because I just bought a camper last year and I'll see if I can, but
I know the answer to that.
I can't
You can't,
because it's camper.
because it has a sleeping accommodations.
Oh, okay.
Maine does not allow sleeping accommodation
All right. Okay. Hold that.
for an out-of-state residence.
So all of those trailers that you see on the highway that are either from Maine or Oklahoma, most of them, this seems to be the two biggies and whatnot. You're saying if those had sleeping accommodations, they wouldn't be registered in Maine.
Correct.
I thought maybe a call a friend came through on the other answer about whether it's okay to register it out of state on whether that's what they're doing is they're not. But these are what we know because they registered them here. But we haven't. Is there any way to know how many were actually sold in Vermont? And makes me think of some of those other proprietary less than 10 filers of sales tax or other. I don't know how you would find out.
I've requested, so we have a team looking at if there is any option. I looked at FOIA requests of, the Secretary of State in Montana, but if they don't have the Vermont address and they have an agent, then they wouldn't have that. So thinking about it.
Well,
What we
my
can-
understanding California is very aggressively going after this particular activity for California residents that are not, which that would allude to whether or not it is or is not illegal for a Vermont resident to purposely avoid purchasing use by registering in another state. It also makes you wonder just how much money it is. The max tax. Yeah. How many different classes of vehicles do we sell in Vermont? And then how many of them have max taxes?
So max tax isn't based on class, as in gross vehicle weight rating class. It's based on weight. So if a truck, there's a couple of things, but for trucks, if a truck weighs shipping weight more than 10,099 pounds, it qualifies for max tax. If it weighs less than 10,099 pounds or less, then it does not qualify for max tax. Trailers qualify for max tax.
And a
And then
trailer,
some-
meaning
A trailer.
like a trailer that is enclosed tractor trailer type that you see on, or
A
trailer that
trailer.
hauls anything or any trailer.
A trailer.
They're all the same. They're all handled the same. And a trailer does qualify for max tax.
Yes.
But I thought if you weighed a little bit less, you could still register it at the higher rate if you chose to.
It's not based on registration, it's based on shipping weight.
You can't avoid that, like, maybe I'm getting my testimony mixed up. I thought there was a way around that, even though it was a little bit lighter. Even though it has nothing to do, you could register it to avoid Must be mixing up the test last year.
So the DMV would look up the vehicle like they look up the value of the vehicle to determine the shipping weight.
The shipping weight is on the MCO, and we also get the shipping weight from Vintelligence. And we are currently working on a document for big trucks that come in pieces, parts, and haven't been put together yet. So that it's their final weight.
Yeah.
Apply, so that they would apply, max tax would apply to them as they should.
Do you have any idea how long the max tax number has been? Is it the same 2,486 for trailers and for the gross weight trucks, the heavyweight trucks? Do you know how long it's been, 2,486?
I think it's 2 years.
We raised it 2 years ago.
I think so.
You have an idea from what? From where? Okay,
Well, I think it was 21 something.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, yes, I think
Looked it
it's
up.
21
It
something.
just went up this last year.
So it was last year.
Yeah, I think January 2026. It went to.
No,
Oh.
it was 2486 last year. Yes.
there was an issue around this weight thing earlier this year that was up and down the dress. That's a little bit different, but it's still an issue. Representative Patrick?
So, this, max purchase and use tax applies to trucks. And did you say it also applies to trailers? Like a camper trailer, but it has to be over 10,000 pounds. That's
Yes.
pretty big. Yeah,
1,099 pounds.
yeah.
It's big greater than that. Oh, no, sorry, trailers, it's just all trailers. I misspoke.
All trailers.
It's only trucks that applies the weight.
Okay, so trailers, whatever the value is, if you have a camper trailer that's $60,000, you're paying purchase and use on 60,000. On the,
No, you pay a max, you'd have the max tax.
Yes. Yes, a fifth wheel gets the max tax.
So that's 2,400 and you would cap out at $2,486, no matter how high the value of your trailer went. You're not gonna pay more than 2,486 on a trailer.
a camper trailer or any trailer.
Yes.
10,000 pounds.
Don't represent Casey and represent White.
So you're here to get us to raise it? Is that what we're here to do, or you just explain it?
I'm just giving you the answers of what it is.
Okay, all right,
Yes, just what it is.
all right, thanks.
For the record, there's no request whatsoever. You get her in trouble then.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. So the Vermont max tax is specific to trucks weighing 10,099 pounds or more. And the maximum they can pay is 2486. With trailers, they don't fall under that.
They don't fall under the weight restriction.
Okay.
So trailers are just get the max tax.
All trailers are, even if they're little trailers.
Well, they likely won't,
Under that price.
right, so they're likely under that price, little tiny trailers.
Right.
So it's a trailer that
So they might pay 1,000, but they're not gonna pay more than,
6%. So it's the max tax or what 6% is. So they're not gonna have to pay 2486 for $1,000 trailer.
okay.
They'll,
Roughly $40,000. If you buy something that costs more than roughly 40, you hit the max.
yes,
Pay 6% up until that, and then you cap out. So if value continues to go up, you're not paying any more. But you of course pay less if you.
Right. And then cars are not considered to have a max tax.
they do not. There's special equipment, special purpose equipment, so a crane on a trailer or a crane receives the max tax. And so there's some loaders and some other special purpose equipment that receives the max tax.
And do you know how we compare to other states? I mean, obviously, we know that Montana we're not looking good compared to Montana.
Most states don't have a max tax.
Okay,
California has their max taxes on the gross vehicle weight rating, and it's very specific to the tractor trailer type trucks, so anything over 26. Yeah, 26 something. I didn't prepare for this conversation.
Sorry.
That's okay.
The number of the 2486 is set in the statute somewhere, I guess.
Yes.
It also, but there's not with a requirement to review it on, it would just be as proposed.
I think it appears when I was looking at it and tracking back as I was looking at max tax, that it's every so many years that it is raised. Very much like the tracked vehicle one over at the Department of Tax. Every couple of years, it's automatically raised a certain percentage.
It's not like our fees that would have to come from a fee bill.
No, I think,
Or it is.
I think it
They
does.
stop doing fee bills until you get, till.
Yeah, I think that's just for the other people, so every 6, 7 years.
That's what I'm getting at, I guess, is that, yes, is it, there has to be a fee bill to make these changes.
I don't,
There's not any inflationary. There's no inflation, automatic inflation projection. You don't believe, you don't know.
I don't.
Okay. Representative Keith?
Okay, so, these numbers are trying to tell me something. I don't know what they're saying to me yet. So what I see between the difference between, Montana and Vermont, 1548. And so are these numbers telling me that if we went to a max tax at 1548, we'd be equivalent to Montana?
With the numbers that I've.
Understood.
Right,
No,
I
at
didn't
this
know
point
the
in time.
$800 and yes, so
Okay.
what I was able to pull together this morning.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so, and then the point would be, the unknown would be that if you went to such a thing, the anticipation is that you might get more of those to make up the difference. You might, this is just supposition, nobody knows,
Okay.
right? So, but what you could say then is that because you've got $500,000 that you're gonna be short,
So that's based, the $500,000 is based on the 2486. It's not based on the 1548. It will be much larger. If it was based on the 1548.
okay,
So it would be significantly higher than
so.
$475,000.
Right, so so you'd have to have some number of extra vehicles to make up the difference. And that, whereas I was trying to get
Yes.
approximately, that would be, you'd probably have if you 100 of them would give you another, you'd have to have almost 500 more vehicles. So I might have, I'm sorry. But,
So 475 divided by 1548.
okay, just a minute, I can help you.
Okay,
Okay, what was the numbers you said?
475,873 divided by 1548.
306. So you'd have to just,
We need more than that.
Yeah.
Because if we dropped it to 1548, that 475,000 would be a greater number.
and so we don't know, to the chair's point, that we don't know how many are sold in the state. So, I mean, we'd have to almost, anyway, so that's
Well, it wouldn't even just be sold in the state, it'd be sold in surrounding states.
for that are
Because,
registered.
but the people that live in the state, is they might buy a camper or a motorhome in New Hampshire or in Maine, but they live here, so it's required here. So it's not just sold in the state.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it would be sold in the surrounding states and they don't have, where they're a snowbird and they could register in Florida.
So maybe 500 and far off, but it's still a substantial number based on the number that we.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Representative Couch?
Do you know how many states allow you to register vehicles or trailers or trucks?
The
If
only,
you don't live there.
the only two that I'm aware of are Maine and Montana. I haven't done the deep dive of it.
Did you?
I think it's-
No, my favorite. Avery has them.
And we're also, we only have the data on what we know. It's the unknown.
Yes.
Represent what?
Just to visit once a year.
Oh,
So I'm curious, Renee, I'm just looking at the Vermont statute for registration. I mean, it seems to me that individuals living in the state are required to register their vehicles in the state. So registering in Maine or Montana, is that against Vermont law according to our statute? It kind of seems like it. I would prefer.
Damien answered that question.
Okay.
sorry.
I thought that
Get updates from Senate Finance.
the sheriff said that they set up a company and register that. Is that what you said about these?
In order to avoid paying purchase and use tax in Vermont, they go to a registered agent that forms an LLC for them in Montana, register in Montana, pay the registration fees that Renee showed us on the second page, and pay nothing in purchase and use, except in a case of over $300,000. I believe there's an $825 luxury tax on that, but that's a dramatically less money on a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 vehicle than the 6%, which is 30 grand here that you would be paying. So you get out of it on an annual an initial basis of maybe $1,200 with an annual expense of $100 to $200 a year to keep up. There's a long ways before you're going to touch the 30, even 20,000. It would take, years, and then you hit the 11 years and they don't even have to register at all.
But I guess my question is that against Vermont law? When you look at the general registration and what we say,
I'm gonna ask Dave, if you're reading the statute, I don't know, and
Yeah.
Renee works in finance, so she's not going to answer.
Yeah.
But I'm expecting that Damien or the DMV attorney will be able to answer that, but you're saying if you're reading it, you're saying it does appear to be illegal? Because I know it's happening today, and I know that California is actively pursuing in their law that it's illegal because they're actively going after. But what they're finding is exactly the same thing that Renee testified, which is you can't find a name behind the thing. If only a few people foolishly created their company as their own name, then they catch on to that and they start creating the company names of other pieces and they send you back to the registered agent. The registered agent doesn't have to respond, et cetera. I mean, there's a whole lot of this going on.
So it sounds like if you get pulled over with in your motorhome and it's got Montana plates, your registration won't have your name on it, it'll have the company name. Guess?
I believe you are correct, but I don't have this situation. I'm just saying.
Fly by night company,
Yes. But it's valid and it's paid.
cheap Vermont company.
So the question of what is going on and then what we have not discussed in this committee in the time that I've been here, the concepts of where max taxes can help or hurt. And whether or not this should be a subject that we do or don't want to dig into. And because we didn't, I would say that perhaps since there hasn't been a fee bill that's passed through here, except for that. And that wasn't at all, there was no testimony taken in this committee.
That was what it means.
It was all done at Ways and Means level. That I'm perhaps queuing up a conversation for those that may return next biennium, if not something sooner. But that's what I'm trying to get at is, did you realize all trailers, they don't pay anything? You realize all heavy duty trucks are capped out at 2486. That number doesn't change. Inflation continues to go up. Are we shorting ourselves? Lots of questions is what I'm trying to get at. How do we find out? Like I said, I'm not saying that, and maybe the cap shouldn't be, maybe it should be staged by values. Maybe a cap that comes in on a 300,000. So take the 163 vehicles that paid the 881,000. The average value on those vehicles is about $92,000 on their 6%. So average, that means I guarantee you that there are vehicles in the $300,000 and $400,000 range to get to that average that are a few of them paid here. How many didn't? Or maybe we should leave it all alone and let them keep their money. I don't know. I think Damien will have to answer our question about what's legal and not legal. Are there any other areas that have, what about boats? Do they have any, do boats pay purchase use?
Yes.
Are there any max taxes on,
No max on boats, huh?
do boats get registered in other states?
I
Do
don't,
we register them here? I
I
assume.
think we
through the
talked
DMV?
about that there was, I thought last year we had, that there were some changes or something to like, you had to have your stamp and people who come here from out of state have to get their boat thing if they're here for more than. a
More than
week or
I
something.
remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
That's
you were
not
talking about
purchase and
the
use, that's not
boats
purchase and
coming from
use.
Canada,
That's just your boat, stamp registration.
right?
That's different.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? I welcome any other thoughts as well.
I think planes also. A lot of planes aren't registered here because
Because of the 6%,
it's really out, there's no cap for them,
right?
right?
I think that's right. Okay.
That's sales tax.
Sales tax, that's right.
Planes are sales tax, boats are purchase and use.
I don't know. Yeah, the reason I know planes are sales tax is because I work at a tax department.
And there's probably not too many of them are registered here.
Yeah. they
They're
can.
registered out of somewhere else.
Yeah.
Years ago, I'm pretty sure they paid purchases.
Yes, they're subject to 6% sales and use tax upon first registration.
With no cap. And I'm saying. Do they all pay or do they go elsewhere? Or do they pursue other opportunities to avoid paying? And should there be some kind of stepped scenario so as to encourage people to register them here if they're avoiding it? These are the questions I'm looking for the committee to have spent a few minutes on, so. Thank you very much for coming in.
You're welcome.
We are adjourned until Damien is available from